Log date 7-11-2. Peridot spoke up into the tape player. It's the third rotation of the Earth since the commencement of she inhaled deeply. Collaborative approach to stopping the cluster. I finished drawing the blueprints for the drill, Pearl called out to her. Peridot, if you could come and take a look at this. Peridot ended her recording by stepping outside. Remind me why I should listen to you. All right, she said, playing the recording. The Pearl here has exhibited an aptitude for the engineering that I abruptly respect. Although it doesn't seem that it explains a spontaneous singing while crying. MFS snickered as Spinel asked, "What's with the recorder?" "Well, she didn't have her stuff anymore," replied Stephen, "so I thought I might take her to make her better a bit." As the green gem played the recordings of her saying "cold, Claude," Spinel placed her hand on her chin, thinking of something, and Garnet walked over to them. "All right, I chased away those cows. Let's get to work." Peridot cleared her throat. "Before we begin, would you mind unfusing? It's making me incredibly uncomfortable." The crystal gem stood silent. Garnet finished on tying to leash onto the fences and walked away with Peridot protesting. "Do we really have to do that?" Stephen asked, while Pearl and Amethyst were setting up the parts and pieces. "Her having a free redesign of the place is just incredibly uncomfortable," responded Garnet. Spinel sighed. Seeing Peridot struggling to reach the microwave, she pulled over and laid on her knees and pulled the item over. The green gem scowled at her. "I was just about to reach that." "You're welcome," Spinel kindly replied. Peridot was puzzled by Spinel's patience for her, but tried to ignore it as she got the microwave open. "No need help with that?" "No, I just want some sort of leverage optimizer." "Leverage optimizer? You mean?" Spinel looked around. "A screwdriver?" Peridot blinked at her. "If that's what it's called, then yes." Before she could reach it, Spinel handed her the screwdriver just as Stephen and Amethyst walked over. "Hey, Stretch," Amethyst greeted, grinning. "How's Peridot holding up?" Spinel shrugged. "All is good. I just handed her a leverage optimizer." Stephen and Amethyst were confused until they realized they saw the screwdriver in Peridot's hands, and they began to snicker, much to Spinel's confusion. Hey, Peridot," Amethyst pointed at her nose. "What do you call this?" "A scent sponge?" Stephen curiously poked his nose as the purple gem began to laugh, although Spinel wasn't agreeing with what she was doing. "Okay, what's this?" "A vision spear." "And this is eyeballs, Of course, Amethyst was cut off by Spinel, wiggling her fingers. Peridot, these touch stumps. This, gravity connections. This, that's your butt." Amethyst and Stephen laughed hysterically, but Spinel stood up. "All right, that's enough, you two. We're not making how this is easier for the world how they see." "Aw, chill out, Spinny," Amethyst leaned against her. "We're just having fun. No harm done." Stephen chuckled. "That rhymed. Making fun of others isn't funny." "Funny?" Peridot asked, raising a bell. "What's that?" Ignoring the other's questions and trying to move on to Amethyst to fall on her side, Spinel tried to explain, but Stephen spoke up. "It's what you are." Pearl then came over to Peridot. "If you can get the magnetron out of the microwave, we'll have everything we need, except for the drill head." Spinel seemed to agree. "Yeah, what the heck are those where we're going to find a giant drill?" "Oh, why I don't just get an injector drill head from the kindergarten," Peridot suggested. "Oh well," Pearl considered the great idea. "I guess that's something you could try." "She's not going to kindergarten without a chaperone," they heard Garnet shout. "What?" Peridot sat up. "You gotta be kidding." Garnet placed the tires down. "You'll know when I'm joking," Peridot sighed in annoyance. "Me and Stephen can go with her," Amethyst offered happily. "Yeah," agreed Stephen. "We'll keep an eye on her." Garnet nodded. "Approved her in line." Peridot glanced at Spinel. "Can she come along as well?" Spinel blinked. Of course. "At the prime kindergarten, the log date was the same as usual," said Peridot, holding the recorder against the injector. "The Amethyst, the Spinel, and the Stephen have volunteered up to estimate this era one drill. The stylistically pleasing, the newer one have a nicer finish." "You are going to make more nerd notes?" Amethyst teased. Spinel groaned. "Oh my stars, Amethyst, don't start." "What?" Peridot stopped her recording, confused. "What does she mean by nerd?" The pink gem then sighed, hopping off the injector. "Nerd is a way to describe someone's knowledgeable in technology, which is nothing to be ashamed about." She then narrowed her eyes at Amethyst, who simply just snickered. "Yo, Stretch, chill. There is no shame in little fun." Steven hopped down as well. Yeah, cut it out. Peridot scrunched her nose, whispering in the recorder. As you see, this planet is annoying, and everything is annoying among us. The transgenerations is in need of the MFS and Spinel to ask the permission for the permafusion. Permafusion? MFS glanced over at the short gem. What do you call Garnet? Peridot scoffed, putting away the recorder. I call her lots of things. I could call her two things. 2 clods, walking like she's 1 clod. She snickered. Alright, Hey, Peridot, do Spinel next. What's weird about her? Peridot pondered, trying to examine the pink gem by walking around her and pulling her on her dress, inspecting the white bow on her waist, and even then staring at the pigtails. Well, that depends on your purpose that were made for before you joined these guys. Spinel bit her lip, preventing herself from screaming. I was made to entertain. Ha ha. Entertain? What with that appearance? Peridot began to laugh. MFS joined in. You must be joking. You don't even look apart. Spinel's fists clenched. I mean, I look at you. You're a total mess. You're not a defective way, of course, but you certainly could scare my gem back to my homeworld. Dull colors, dark appearance, spiky hair, and all those lines on your face, you seem to be, they look like tear stains. What sort of entertainer would that have? Peridot, please stop. Steven's worry grew, but MFS, still grinning, blocked him while walking over. Even your own gem, I do say, it's the great factus in the edges, and it's perfectly cut. Whoever made you must be setting you up for the best. In fact, the shape of the heart, it has always looked like this. No? What is that supposed to be upside down? She gruffed. Seriously, what were you supposed to look like? Spinel groaned. You really want to know? Peridot nodded, unaware of Spinel's boiling anger. Of course, just a minute or two. Sighing with all of her strength, Spinel glowed white, her gem turning the light right side up, and her whole body and appearance changed. When the glow faded, Spinel appeared, this time having heart-shaped buns, brighter than colors, no tear stains, and the white top around her sleeves. No dress, no round squeaky shoes. Through the eyes did remain the same. While MFS and Steven looked like dumbfounded, Peridot ended up on forming stars in her eyes. Wow, you even look better. Spinel was about to protest, but Peridot began to examine her. Yes, now you look like an entertainer. Heck, why didn't you even change your look at all? You look better this way. Thanks, it's just... She glowed white and turned back to her current form. Stay this way. Then Peridot took a few steps away and had her hand on her chin. Well, I have made my conclusion, Spinel. You're the only crystal gems who is actually a gem. Spinel froze, and same with Steven and Amethyst, while smiling into the fading with a frown. What do you mean? She asked. Come on, isn't it obvious? Peridot jokingly exasperated. You've got something in Spinel needs from what I've seen, and if we ignore your design, you weren't even a detective. Steven's just a hybrid abomination. Needing to be fled by Expel It, Pearl doesn't even have an owner. Garnet's fusion and Amethyst, she's got a quartz needs, but stayed on Earth too long is no wonder why she's so short. Amethyst tensed up. Short? Well, yeah, Peridot grinned. And now for you, you're supposed to be a quartz soldier. But you are actually big, strong muscle, and very loyal. And from what I can see, your whole way is much smaller than the rest. I presume to be a fifth 500 years since you emerged. No wonder you're okay. Spinel angrily interrupted. We're officially done talking about this. Amethyst, what do you have to say we get the drill and leave? Sounds good, deadpanned Amethyst as she swerved onto the drill. The pink gem grabbed it, and the two began to walk away. Peridot nodded, crossing her arms in approval. Well, at least they're both strong, right, Steven? However, Steven only glared at her, glistening as he followed the gems. Peridot stared after them, bewildered if something she had did something wrong. Oh, it's lovely, Pearl said as she checked the drill head. To be using this technology to start all the fixes, this drill's a pure of irony. It sure is, Spinel murmured, making sure her back was turned on to Peridot. Actually, it's most carbonate, said Peridot, pointed out. Steven remained silent as Amethyst passed him. Oh, Amethyst! Amethyst stopped and shook her head, still displeased. Check this out, Peridot picked up and hammer. A Remific pulverizer? She then fell backwards and laughed at her own joke. The purple gem didn't laugh. Whatever, she just said, and then she walked away. Peridot sat up, confused. What? She then turned her attention to Spinel. Hey, Spinel! The pink gem didn't turn as she was left as well. That was the incorrect response, Peridot said. Why aren't you laughing at my joke? Why isn't Spinel looking at me? Stephen glared at her. You hurt their feelings. Peridot stared at them. Hurt their feelings? Yeah, you said back there was awful. Awful? I wasn't awful. I was being cool. No, you weren't. Look at their eyes. They're clearly not happy. Peridot squinted her eyes, noticing the look on MFS and Spinel's eyes when they were talking to Pearl and Garnet, almost if their spirit has flattened them. Peridot mumbled, Why do I feel smaller? Because you feel bad, Stephen said, sharing her anger. You made them feel awful. Spinel likes it when she and MFS have self-consciousness about herself, and you told them that they were wrong? The green gem was stunned, slightly horrified, and she tried to defend herself and maybe to insult them, but the words felt stuck in her throat. As Stephen left, Peridot glanced over to Spinel, who was glaring directly at her, and she cowered from her eye contact. Feeling ashamed, Peridot rubbed her arm. Some time has passed, and Peridot was working on the drill, all alone, that with the leash tied to her, apparently unable to encounter Spinel or MFS to apologize. Her guilt still manifested into a frustration as she tried to work on the controls. This little thing, she grunted, fumbling around. Peridot then realized MFS and Spinel walking past her, not giving her a glance. Grumbling, she turned back to work, hearing another pair of footsteps. How's everything going up there? Stephen called up to her. Fine, she snapped. There's nothing wrong. Everything's fine. However, she accidentally pushed a button, turning on the drill, and she began to panic. No, stop! Stephen even became worried. Peridot? When the drill began to spin rapidly, the short gem fell off, landing near Stephen and coughed. The panel! That was fast thinking. Ignoring Peridot's protest, Stephen hopped out onto the drill and continuing to spin out of control. Peridot even tried to chase after them, but her leash got caught in the piece of rock, making her fall to the ground. What's going on? Spinel ran out, seeing the boy stuck in the controllable drill. Stephen! She screeched. She ran over to save him. However, the drill was headed towards her, even as MFS stood beside her. Remembering something about Spinel reacting to Stephen in danger, Peridot tugged on the leash, ripping it from the cord, and she quickly got on the drill. MFS yelped and pushed Spinel away from the drill, avoiding being hit. Stephen continued to scream as he hung on, but Peridot climbed up towards the controls, pressing a button and stopping the drill as he leaned over. Stephen was about to collapse and fall from dizziness, but a pair of gloved hands caught him. Stephen! Spinel cried out, pulling Stephen for a hug. Thank the stars you're okay. Snapping out of his dizziness, Stephen nuzzled her back and pulled away. Don't thank me, the stars. Thank Peridot. Blinking in surprise, Stephen and MFS looked up and they saw Peridot hanging from the edge of the drill, Wolf weakly giving them a thumbs up. Well, we leave for 1 second and everything goes off the rails, Pearl yelled in horrified. I blame the cows, said Garnet. Pearl then sighed to calm down herself. No, it's fine. We'll just have to rebuild it. Stronger and better. We'll even add seatbelts. Don't forget pillows, Spinel shouted. Got that. While the other two gems chattered, MFS, Stephen, and Spinel were cleaning up the remains of the drill, MFS finding a unicycle. Crazy day, huh? Stephen then joked. Spinel gave him a simple shrug, and MFS tossed the unicycle aside, rolling her eyes. Hearing the footsteps, they all turned to see Peridot approaching them, holding back behind the tears and clearing her throat with her free hand. Hey, I just want to... Spit it out, MFS muttered. Spinel kept her unhappy stare. Peridot groaned and facepalmed. Why are my earthlings so difficult? She then pushed a button and record playing. Log date 7-11-2. This entire planet is backwards. There hasn't been an instance of the correct behavior exhibited by one of these crystal gems. I've concluded that they are all defective, but I am no better. I failed my mission and now I'm working with the enemy, and I just can't even get that right. I've apparently hurt MFS and Spinel's feelings. That can even do me wrong, which is not my intent. I've damaged myself by standing on the gem's best here. Then there made a serious mistake. I should have never made them feel bad, especially Spinel's choice. I'm still learning. I hope you can understand. I want to understand. I'm sorry. Peridot faced it 5 and the log. Peridot stopped it. As you could see, oh, Peridot! Stephen was touched by her apology. Peridot looked away, grumbling. MFS glanced up. Peridot? Thanks. Thank you for the apology, Spinel added. Her glowed head melted into a smile. Peridot then gave him an awkward smile. But you're still a nerd. MFS grinned and left. The green gem was slightly annoyed. I'll be sure to add that to my list. How do you feel? Asked Stephen. Big. Tell me why you brought me out here again. Spinel gave her a friendly shrug. I just wanted to talk with you and show you a beautiful sight. Peridot humphed. I've seen enough stars back in my homeworld. This isn't any different. Not the night sky, Spinel laughed. It's something now more grand than that. When they finally reached the cliffside, Spinel sat down cross-legged and patted the spot next to her, gesturing for the green gem. Peridot sat beside her, if she was still wary of what Spinel was trying to show her. Spinel scratched her cheek. It's gonna take a while. We came here earlier than expected. Then what is this? I could barely see a thing. Just wait, you'll see. Some time passed, but the moment Peridot was about to stand up and leave, something glowed over the horizon and all. The gems had watched the sun rose slowly, but steadily. The sky clouds layered with pink and orange seemed to stand still, and the dark sky turning blue. Peridot's eyes gleamed with light and swirling around them, admiring the scenery as the morning dawn arrived. Wow, the shorter gem whispered. Spinel smiled. I agree, the earth has its very ways of showing beauty. Homeworld doesn't compare to this. What? Have sunrises? Yeah, that's way back on the crystal floor walls. I'll admit, it was beautiful when I arrived, but Peridot not turned her head. But Spinel then bit her cheek. I guess even that after years I got a little old, don't you think? The green gem wasn't sure how to say it properly. I guess so, but have you spent your 1,000 years you're staying here and you got ever tired of it? Because it changes. What? The earth changes a lot each year. Sort of like a rhythm. It's summer now, then it'll turn back to autumn, and when the leaves turn red, orange, and yellow, they start to die and die? Peridot shouted in panic. Spinel laughed. Not that kind of dying. I mean, the plants will have to rest after months of being alive. When the earth turns into a certain way, it becomes winter. Winter? Yep. In the frozen rain, droplets in individual shapes fall from the sky, covering the side of the earth as we all call it snow. It only lasts for 2 or 3 months, and it doesn't kill life, but it puts it to rest. Peridot's eyes were wide. But then the weather cools down and the sun melts the ice and starts to spring. The plants will become alive again, and that's when the cycle of our seasons. Wow, Peridot glanced down. You know more than I do. Spinel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. And that's why we're working together, so we could learn about the earth and its resources. Stephen and the other gems are also here to help you learn. So don't worry. Peridot fumbled with her fingers. I know that I have agreed to construct that machine to destroy the cluster, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to keep our correlation stable. Spinel tilted her head. What do you mean? Don't you see? Peridot sat up. When we first met, you hated me, and when you wanted to get to know me. Then you hated me when I challenged Pearl, and then you liked me when I apologized. But then you went back to hating me when I hurt you in Amethyst, and then now you like me again. How on earth are we going to get back together if we can't decide on how we feel? Ugh. She slumbled onto the ground. Spinel, feeling bad, tried to think of something that she did. You've done acting awful lately, refusing any kind of help lately, but inside, you're just a little baby. What? It's okay to say that. You've got a weak spot, but you don't always have to be on top. Better to be hated than loved. Loved for being what you are not. You're invulnerable and vulnerable. You are not a robot. You're lovable, so lovable, but you're just troubled. Guess what? I'm not a robot. Guess what? I'm not a robot. You've been hanging on to the unclothed gems, who have never really liked you and never trusted. But you are so magnetic and you pick up the pens, never committing anything. You just don't pick up the phone when it rings. Don't be so pathetic. Just open up and sing. I'm invulnerable. I'm not a robot. You're lovable, so lovable, but you're just troubled. Guess what? I'm not a robot. Guess what? I'm not a robot. How can you teach me how to feel real? Sure, I'll teach you how to feel. Don't let your energy drop. Guess what? I'm not a robot. 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 Finishing their song, Spinel and Peridot laughed. Gee, thanks for that, Spinel. No problem, Pearl. And I'm gonna head back to the beach. I just want to head back, or... No, Peridot stomped down. Not yet. I just want to stay a little longer. The pink gem nodded. Understood. You know where to find me if you need anything. With Stephen? Spinel froze from the guests, then laughed. Yeah, with Stephen. Most of the time. Bye for now. Wait! Peridot quickly turned her body around, her hands planted on the ground. What? Peridot appeared anxious for a moment before she made eye contact with her. Are we what you call friends? Spinel at first was shocked to hear Peridot's revolution, but a warm smile spread across her face. Of course, she said.